And we're back with Let's Talk Autism, and now we're joined via Skype by Dan Mcmanmon. And Dan is going to talk to us today about CIP. He's president of CIP. Dan, first of all, what does CIP stand for?
Sure. Stands for the College Internship Program.
Wonderful.
Okay, great.
We're so happy to have you here today.
Can you provide an overview of what your program does and what type of students you serve?
Sure, yeah. So CIP is a transition program for youth 18 to 26 years old. It's a residential program, so it's a supported apartment living type setup where students come from all over and they typically stay for a year to 2 or 3 years time frame. And what we do is we provide comprehensive services under one roof: social skills, academics, employment focused areas, health and wellness, some CBT therapy, all in one place in our physical centers. I'm actually here in Long Beach, California, so you'll see some sessions and students floating around behind me. But we're supporting students primarily in independent living setting, in college academics, and in their employment pursuits through internships, volunteering, community service, things like that.
Wonderful. So how did this all get started? When was it founded and by whom?
So my father actually founded CIP 35 years ago. This year is our 35th anniversary.
Congratulations.
And he's a psychologist by trade. He, started running a group home in Las Vegas, of all places, and moved to Massachusetts, where we had started in 1984. So what's kind of interesting about his story is, over about 15-year span, he saw a bigger need and had built this really great program and slowly sort of brought new locations to more places. So we're located in Massachusetts, Melbourne, Florida, near Orlando, then Bloomington, Indiana, and Berkeley and Long Beach, California. So we serve about 160 students nationally. We've about 135 staff members, and we're primarily working with youth on the autism spectrum and with learning differences who are motivated and want to work on that next level from adolescence to adulthood.
Okay. What does CIP do to support and help students become more independent?
Sure. So I think when the student first comes into the program, what is unique about CIP in the model is that you're with a peer group who have similar interests and are all kind of moving towards similar goals, to work on themselves, help, facilitate successful academic experiences, and help, move through all these different levels from, dependence to independence to interdependence. So by providing all these services under one roof, what we're able to do is provide a really individualized and comprehensive program that helps students kind of meet where they are and move forward in a way that's going to be productive for them. And we work really closely with families in that process, all, in the scope of about 20 to 30 hours a week with each student, plus structured weekend activities and all sorts of other aspects. So we provide that structure, and we provide that coaching, that facilitation, and that student-driven process to help students, realize their goals and dreams in a bigger, better way.
Wonderful. Well, let's talk a little bit about your curriculum. What types of curriculum do you have, and what do you find to be the most effective?
Sure. So a lot of what we do is kind of facilitation. We're all facilitators in terms of working with students in real life settings. So some of the core aspects to CIP are, active learning, meaning doing things in real life and coaching and modeling. So that component of what we do is really big in many ways. The other aspects, we've developed a lot of our in-house curriculum. So all of our students are involved in individual and group modules in a variety of different areas, but we're working within domains of EF, life skills, academics. We use Peers, which is based on UCLA, the Peers Young Adult curriculum, which is really helpful. It talks about sexuality, social skills, and something new for this year coming up too is something we're pulling into CIP is the Facing Your Fears curriculum, which is kind of a group therapy focused on helping overcome anxiety, which we see is a bigger trend with youth in general right now that we're working with.
Well, this sounds amazing. I just want to ask, is there a specific type of student that this is perfect for? Is there a certain level of ability to do certain things that would qualify you uniquely for this program?
Yeah. So our students are formally diagnosed. We feel like that's important because, we're not a clinical setting in the sense of being able to diagnose people, and that would be something that comes pre-CIP. But sorry, can you rephrase the question again?
For parents who are listening and they're thinking, is this a good fit for my child who's about to become 18? Are there certain prerequisites? Like, do they have to have a certain level of functionality in order to come?
Yeah. So we typically will talk with families about is, cognitively and IQ wise, we want students to be capable of really taking the most out of this program. So because it's an educational program, first and foremost, we're really talking about like a full scale IQ of 80 and up is kind of our, wider benchmark. It's not that we wouldn't look more deeply because testing is always not the best reflection. But, beyond that, we're looking at the formal diagnosis piece of, an ASD or a learning difference diagnosis. We're looking at, academic achievement testing really being at least an 8th grade level. We can look lower in some cases depending on the students' and families' goals, but we're helping students access college, access employment. So really, cognitively, we're looking at average students in most cases who are motivated enough to want to be here and really participate. I know motivation is a big topic. And then psychologically, behaviorally, students that have stability, we see more and more mental health issues that come up and more testing that alludes to past situations. So we look really carefully at those things. But if a student has been hospitalized for certain reasons, and it's looking like they need more therapeutic supports first and foremost, like I said, we're more educationally focused. So we're looking for a student who's stable and can live semi-independently and can really take the biggest advantage out of what we're providing and grow and change. And, we provide the therapy aspect for the bumps that come along with having any kind of diagnosis and transitioning. So more mild anxiety, more mild depression, things like that.
We understand that CIP offers summer programs. Can you tell us about those?
Sure, yeah. The summer programs are great. So if you're a parent and you have a son or daughter in high school and you're trying to figure out the next steps, there's this, everyone talks about the big leap from high school to college. Things change a lot. So for parents, being able to have their son or daughter stay on a college campus, have a roommate, sometimes it's their first time staying away from home, other times not. But what they're really getting is a good taste of what CIP's, comprehensive curriculum offers. So we call it theme-based curriculum, where in the morning, staying on campus, you're going to have breakfast together. A lot of it's group-based. You're going to talk about maybe teamwork, for instance, just as an easy example, in a module together in the morning. Then toward the afternoon, you're going to do a lot of fun social recreational opportunities to practice those skills with some mentors. It's a self-confidence building program. You make a lot of good social connections, and you get to stay on a campus and sort of feel, what it's like in that next step of independence. The one big thing I like to tote hard with the summer programs is person-centered planning. So, in that stage, it's really critical to start to create a vision of where you're going to go in your life. So we coach each individual student, and say in 10 years, where do you want to live? Do you want to drive a car? Do you want to be in a relationship? Do you want to have a college degree? What kind of work? And we let them blue sky think through that process. And then we backwards plan and break it down into manageable steps. And sometimes it shows that, hey, that's not a realistic goal or dream, but there's a piece of it that is something that is really powerful, that maybe is a motivator, a special interest. So So they do that in using multimedia and PowerPoints. They present it to each other. Some will present to the families. They leave with a pretty good plan and a lot of great skills and experiences, and the families get to test the waters. We say they get to get a taste of college life and experience independence, and the parents get a pretty detailed assessment too, so that they can better gauge what their next step might be with their kid. So all in all, 2-week program, 5 campuses across the U.S., college campuses, and just a really great experience for high school age students who are moving through and looking at their next steps.
Very cool. We've been talking about transitioning a lot in the last few weeks. What advice, when parents are looking for a transition program, what advice would you give them?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think because we've been around for so long, which is kind of an anomaly in many ways, and there's more and more services and supports. Parents are being really proactive, which is great, and many parents themselves are creating programs and new pathways toward, college, independent living, all these pieces, which is great. But I think it's really hard for parents, first of all, to know that transition programs exist, and to then kind of understand goodness of fit is very challenging. So what I tell the families, most basic advice is go and look for yourself, visit, see things in person. That's the most valuable general advice, because you'll feel if it's a good fit. You'll feel if your student is going to have peers. You'll feel if the staff are motivated, engaged. You can ask as much detailed questions as you want. So, everyone does have to visit, but the websites, it's hard to really research online what's what out there. So that's my biggest kernel of wisdom here.
I appreciate that. So having said all that and represented yourself as an expert, if people are wanting to look more into this program, where would they go to get information?
Yeah, just to our website, cipworldwide.org. We provide a ton of resources on our email newsletter list. We're always publishing content and helpful articles. We also have a Autism and Learning Differences teaching toolkit that's available online. It's through Jessica Kingsley, but that's a 550-page manual focused on transition, which is a great resource too.
Wow.
Okay.
500 and that is
a lot of reading. Yeah.
That is a lot of reading. And so here's my. I'm sorry, Nancy, and I'm overstepping here, but
That's okay.
For most of your parents, when they are bringing their a young adult to you for this transition, how is this something that their insurance pays for? Is there funding for it? How are they usually funding this program?
Yeah, so it's different state by state. Primarily, a lot of it is private pay for families. So you have a tuition and housing component, and if you're going to college, there's a college tuition component. We have some families in some cases who have received school district funding. And then in California, we have regional center. We're vendored through regional center through the regional center for both our Berkeley and Long Beach locations. So those programs for regional center clients who are approved, they would be funded for their tuition, which is kind of a big deal too.
Wonderful.
Okay. And once again, they can get in touch with you how?
CIPworldwide.org.
Okay.
Spectacular.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing your program with us today, Dan. We appreciate it.
Thanks for everything you're doing as well. We really appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank
Good
you.
luck.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.
What a great program.
Yeah, wonderful program.
Wonderful. So we're going to take a break, and then when we come back, Dana Miller from Pass the Big BCBA exam is going to be with us. That'll be fun.
Yeah, stay with us.
Stick around.